Bill Gates fears overpopulation in Africa. Man, the new Gosnell movie is already causing problems. Hadn't even been released yet. We're going to get there. And Judge Kavanau? What do we do? What do we do about these accusations? We're going to get to it. Hey, welcome to CrossPolitic. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Midweek Fix. Yes, thanks to all our club members for supporting the show and this network. We encourage others to join, so hop on that train and become a member.
You can always join at CrossPolitic.com. You get digital content, including our Worldview Shotgun series.
Hey!
Better
Musician partners, including Jenny and Tyler, discounts in our merch store, and more as we go. For a limited time, you can join, and if you email us, request a copy of a book from Jovial Press.
So, Bill Gates considers the population explosion in Africa's poorest countries as a threat. So, he was interviewed in an article this last week, and he was talking about kind of his foundation and some of the measurements, some of the things that they're doing in Africa, and he considers kind of the country's population problems here. And he thinks these problems are fueling poverty, political instability, conflict, and refugees, or sparking new boom in world growth as happened in India and China.
People are a problem.
Growth is a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's like cancer.
And according to the demographers, they actually call them demographers.
Oh.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Nice.
They run projections, okay?
I would say demographers.
Demographers?
That too.
Demographers?
Can't leave all that
It's
to
my
Gabe.
Texas. Yeah, there we go. I already did it. And so there's about 1 billion in the population right now.
Okay.
And there's projected to be about 2 billion by the mid-century and
Okay.
about 4 billion by the end of the century.
So they're
That's some
actually
significant growth.
So they're actually Dominion mandate. They're actually doing that.
Yeah, but
Well,
these projections are always, I mean, who do you think you are?
yeah.
That's a good point.
I mean,
Projecting
That's a good
fertility
point.
and death rates and all these
of
things.
it is, I mean, we're not God.
Now, but as economists, you can see trends.
Okay.
All right, you can see trends. I
But-
think so. The thing here for me that's mind-boggling is I think this is kind of pretty arrogant from Bill Gates to have a problem with another country's population growth. And if I looked this up and found that the top 4 of his funding initiatives in foreign countries, and I think primarily actually Africa, are infectious disease control, malaria control, STD control, reproductive health care. At least 2 of those, if not 3 of those, have something related to
Birth control and abortions.
Yeah, that's right. And so he's already funding, basically trying to depopulize Africa already.
Trying to kill off the black people already. Look at that.
Well, I mean, it's
Wow.
sort of like this benevolent plantation
Ooh.
kind of thing going on.
Oh, Toby.
Right? I'm going to help you all out
Yeah.
here. I'm not making you do stuff, but it looks like you're getting out of control.
And
Colonizers.
don't you think,
Right?
don't you think, I think part of this is, I mean, obviously Bill Gates believes in salvation through medicine. I mean,
Of course.
he's spending over each initiative that I just read.
Well, he thinks he's God.
Right.
Yeah, at some level.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, everything is, if you believe in a materialistic universe, you can engineer
That's right.
computers.
that's right.
Then you can engineer health. You can engineer peace.
You better say that.
Right? You can
That's good.
you can engineer community and harmony because it's all material.
Preach
So you have to engineer it though with medicine. You engineer
right.
it with chemicals.
And this,
That's your Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
That's right.
Right.
don't you think part of the thinking here is if our country's not in control, or if Bill Gates from where he sits in Seattle's not in control, and other countries become more successful, or other countries become bigger in population, that there's kind of some fear from that?
Well, I think they're seeing the problem the wrong way. I mean,
Because we think America is the moral high ground
like
here,
I
right?
tell my kids when somebody's doing something else, mind your business.
Yeah.
You do what you're supposed to do. You be honest and mind your business, and God will bless that. And let God deal with other people in that way. So that, in one sense, like, yes, I agree with you. But I think they're also missing what the real problem is. It is not growth. Growth is a good thing. That's a command from God. The problem is sin.
Right. Yeah.
When you see corruption happening, when you see sickness happening in your land, it's because the land has forgotten God.
Right.
And
That's
so
right.
go through, I tweeted the whole chapter, like Deuteronomy 28 recently, or 29 recently.
Oh, really?
It did. I was like,
I
most
missed
people
it.
ain't reading their
Yeah.
Bibles anyway. So
Twitter's shadow banning you because I missed that.
I'm going to help them out. But if you read Deuteronomy 29, I think it's verse 23, it talks about the people seeing a destroyed land, a sick people, and wondering what has happened here.
Right.
And the point is to say, because these people have forgotten God, He has made them desolate.
Right.
So when we see something like this, it's for us to remind, sin does this.
Right.
So we should look
God.
at Africa and say, hey, they've forgotten God, and that's why they're going through some of these things.
The way to fix the problem, if he's seeing a growth of people, is to say, man, we need some evangelists in here.
Right.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
Preaching some gospel
so Bill,
in here.
for each category, he's funding over $150 billion in each category.
Wow.
I mean, it's a significant amount of money for each category. And I was going through and looking at that, and I was like, man, what could you do with missionaries?
Yeah, well,
with all this money.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And missionaries come fully loaded. We don't just come with gospel. We actually come with cloaks.
Yeah.
We come with water. We come fully loaded, provide for the spiritual and for the natural. So the best way to always heal a nation is through the preaching and repentance. Preaching the gospel and through repentance.
Absolutely.
This goes back to understanding the way God made the world and the way God made people.
Tag your it, Pastor. Go
all right, and people, we are a bad tree cannot make good fruit.
Amen.
A bramble bush cannot make good fruit.
Yeah.
You make brambles.
That's right.
And so you can't. What Bill Gates is doing is basically a highly complicated system of trying to tape good fruit on bramble bushes.
Ooh.
Right, but
I love that imagery.
you can't turn a bramble bush into a fruitful tree by taping good fruit to it.
That's right.
You have to change the tree.
That's right.
The tree, these fruitless branches need to be grafted into a fruitful vine, and that fruitful vine is Jesus. And he changes us from the inside out. He makes us fruitful because our hearts become clean.
That's right.
And then we want to begin to be productive members of society. The other piece of this that's missing in all, I think you're absolutely right. Sin's the problem. And what sin messes up is the image of God. But the image of God is precious. It is valuable.
That's right.
It's the greatest treasure in the world. Right. There's nothing else in all of creation that's as valuable as people because nothing else in creation is made in the image of God.
And God said it was good.
And God is the most valuable, precious, thing in the whole universe, all that is.
Right.
And so, yes, sin mars it, sin messes it up, but what it mars is something of inestimable value. And so what I see when people start talking about overpopulation, thinking Christians need to think these people hate God and hate his image.
That's right.
They
That's
hate
right.
people. Yes, people do horrible things. People are lazy. People steal. People rape. People, they cause all these problems, but the problem is sin. But they in themselves are actually of great value. We only think of them as consumers rather than thinking of them as producers, what they're capable of.
That's right. That's right.
By the grace of God.
Yeah.
But that's why I agree with, I think we absolutely need to send missionaries.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think just another jab, too, is like, don't think for one second that your omniscient God didn't make a world that could handle all the people on it.
Amen.
So as soon as I hear stuff like that, it's like, y'all done lost your mind.
Exactly.
Do you know who we talking about? That's
right.
a slap in the face of Almighty God. You crazy?
Just do a little bit of math, too. These people are not good at math. I mean, I'm just going to say.
For Gates to be.
Bill Gates.
You're not good at math.
You're not good at math. I'm serious, though. I mean, do some actual math and just do the numbers, crunch the numbers of how many people live in particular areas like New York City.
Yeah.
And then just do the math. Yes, you have to have land for food and so on, but there is plenty of land.
That's right.
When my wife first, she grew up outside of Baltimore, and when she moved out here, one time we drove across the country, and she said, I'd heard for years about overpopulation. And she was fairly skeptical of it. But when you live on the East Coast, you're sort of like, I guess if the world's like
There's
this.
a lot of traffic on the freeway.
Maybe it's getting kind of full, you know? She says, those people never drove through South Dakota.
Ain't that the truth?
Those people never drove through Montana.
No.
Those people never been to Alaska.
Or Texas.
There's plenty of land. God loaded this world, and there's plenty of resources, plenty of land, plenty of space.
Right.
If we will just obey him, submit our lives to Christ, and there's plenty.
Yep.
Right.
So
you're on the wrong side of history if you're either funding Hermit Gosnell or funding the movie of Hermit Gosnell. Right? Right? I
think I agree.
Are you Bill Gates funding Hermit Gosnell abortion?
In Africa.
Yeah. Or are you funding movies that show the sin and tragedy of abortion?
Right.
Recently, so the Gosnell movie's coming out October 12th.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, we actually got the director coming on in a couple weeks before the movie comes out.
It'll be in theaters.
It'll be in theaters.
I think
which is crazy. And they fundraised over $2.3 million kind of in a crowdfunding campaign to do this movie.
Wow.
Super powerful. But now they're working on the marketing efforts, getting the campaign out, and the executive producer of the film, John Sullivan, contacted NPR. I love this. Contacted NPR because they wanted to run an ad on NPR. In fact, they not just a commercial on the show, they actually wanted to sponsor the opening of the show.
Yeah.
So good money. They're paying NPR good money.
I think
that's a good move.
It was six figures, right?
Yeah,
so the proposed
you can come over here and do that if you want.
We'll run an ad. We'll run a 6-figure ad on CrossPolitic.
Come on, brother.
And the proposed ad, let me read the proposed ad, and then we'll get to the problem here. Support for this NPR program comes from the film Gosnell. I don't have the NPR voice.
You close.
Support for this NPR program comes from the film Gosnell. I'm not going to do it.
Please don't do that.
The trial of America's biggest serial killer. The film is the true story of abortionist Kermit Gosnell, a story the mainstream media tried to cover up because it reveals the truth about abortion. So that's the ad.
Yeah.
75 words, 30 seconds.
Buy it.
All right. And NPR had a problem with that ad. So their problem was...
Shock.
Yeah. Their problem was that they used the term abortionist to describe Kermit Gosnell. So NPR wanted just to run the ad with the, just, hey, Dr. Kermit Gosnell. And they also proposed, John also proposed, like, hey, what about abortion doctor? And they said no also. So they weren't going to run the ad. And then when NPR when they were asked to comment on this, why aren't you going to run the Gosnell ad? They said sponsor credits that run on NPR are required to be value neutral, to comply with FCC requirements, and to avoid suggesting bias in NPR's journalism.
So glad NPR's worried about bias.
Yeah, in their commercials or in their journalism.
Are they going to run the ad?
So the last I read, which was yesterday, that they weren't going to run the ad because they really wanted to describe the kind of doctor that Kermit was.
The Gosnell crew producer was not going to agree to their terms.
That's right.
So, Pastor, would you have run the ad though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, why?
If all they were objecting to is the title abortionist, I agree with John Sullivan that that's a stronger ad. But if all they say is you can run the ad exactly as it is, America's biggest serial killer, Dr. Kermit Gosnell, because it reveals the truth about abortion. Yeah. As long as I can get the word abortion in there, I'm good. If they were to strip it completely of all those things, I might second guess. But even there, we're talking about NPR. It's the most liberal news source,
bias
federally funded. And to get the word out that this movie's coming out to expose this, that's big.
That's right.
It's really big. And if all they're going to make me do is drop that, but I can say it reveals the truth about abortion and serial killer, I'm going to run it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll run it.
Yeah. I would have found another thing to put in front of the baby killer. Can we do that?
I think that's I think they would call that not value neutral.
Oh yeah, that's what he got. That's what he was actually put in jail for.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not truth.
It would have been interesting to play with words with NPR to see what you could.
Maybe see what he was convicted of or something like that.
I would just kept going back and back. Well, which one? And I would have let this article play out more and keep going. I went back and
play it.
Yeah,
play it.
Because here's the deal.
You're right.
They're getting way more play out of this particular article happening than they actually would from the play from NPR.
You're right. And this is one of those places where Christians are so slow. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Like, to see the opportunity here, let's have this argument.
Yeah. This is the stage right here.
Let's get some more news stories out of this.
Yeah.
Let's beat Kanye. And start tweeting this. Do a tweet storm. Get everybody interested in Gosnell.
That's right.
Why? Because we want the truth to get out.
And to say, hey, guys, why don't you help me with NPR? I'm trying to
crowdsource this.
That's right. They raised the money.
What would NPR, what would they take?
That's right. You got $2 million that people have already given you, so you got a big enough audience to make this move.
Yeah.
So put it out there to your audience and say, hey, NPR won't run this because they don't like this title.
John Sullivan.
Why don't you help us with this?
If you're listening, executive producer of Film Gosnell, take advantage of this moment.
And I agree with you. And run the ad.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do both of them. Let's go.
Christians, I mean, Jesus, he sends us out as, sheep among wolves. Yeah. But he says, we need to be as innocent as lambs, as sheep, and as cunning as serpents. And frequently we're not so good at the latter part.
Man, we have a moment with Judge Kavanau again.
Here we go.
Again.
What did he do?
So
according to the Babylon Bee,
what did he do? I didn't read that.
He might have touched the lava when jumping from the couches, furniture.
I did see that.
I haven't seen
when he
that.
was a little kid.
Oh,
You know how you jump from couch to couch and there's lava below when you're playing. Yeah.
He might have actually touched the lava and he didn't tell his siblings.
Well, and that's right. That was funny. I did see that one.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
As you guys know, if you guys been listening to our show back in January, one of our New Year's pledges was to keep kind of biblical justice in the forefront of our discussions on CrossPolitic. We talked about
glad
that.
you brought that back up.
Yeah.
Did we say that?
Yeah.
You know what? I think we would have. I'm glad you brought
Thanks
that
for
up.
reminding us.
I'm pretty sure we said that.
We got to go back and listen to our own
Yeah,
show.
right.
And this Kavanau situation, as Christians, we really need to get biblical principles of justice down into our bones.
That's right.
We don't even know the difference between sins and crimes. We talked about that recently. We're a generation that does not understand the three spheres of sovereignty, which plays into all this biblical justice.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we don't know how to handle accusations like Christians.
Ooh,
this is real.
you gotta preach,
with Judge
preach
Kavanaugh.
up.
This is this is part of how we get the evils on both sides. The false accusations, kind of incentivizing false accusations, and then also getting leaders who are unaccountable.
Right.
On both sides because we don't understand this. And so let's walk through this recent Kavanaugh accusation. So if anybody's been following the news, it's pretty easy to follow this. Judge Kavanaugh, he's supposed to come up for vote this week.
This Monday, right?
This Monday.
Yep.
And this last week, a old high school acquaintance came out and said that he was drunk and attacked her in a bedroom with the music loud, and a friend was in the bedroom.
Yeah.
When he was 17.
When he was 17.
35 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So that's kind of the lay of the land, and she's accusing him of trying to have sex with her.
Right.
And nothing. I don't think anything happened beyond she was able to get out of the moment, but he attacked her.
Right.
So that's the accusation. Now this is 35 years later, as Knox points out, and just for a moment, just forget that the accusations have been made over 30 years ago, although that's relevant. Okay. Forget that these accusations have come in the final hours of voting for Republican nominated Supreme Court
You're asking me
appointee.
to forget a whole lot, brother.
Right.
Hold on now. Hurry
Right.
up. You better hurry.
I'm setting it up. And forget that the lawyer representing the accuser is connected to George Soros funding.
Okay.
Well, no,
Okay.
that makes sense.
And then forget that the Democrats, they want a judge that will bow to Molech. So let's forget all those four things. They all matter.
All right.
Okay. But let's forget it for a second. And let's talk biblical justice 101 here. I want to read Deuteronomy 19:15 through 21. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, and any sin that sinneth. At the mouth of two witnesses or the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. If a false witness rises up against a man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priests, before the judges, which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisitions, and behold, if the witness be false, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he thought to have done unto his brother. So shall the evil be put away from among you. There's three things I just want to highlight here real quick. First is we have to have witnesses. Okay, when something happens, when
you have to have two or three witnesses.
You have to have two or three witnesses.
One witness is not enough.
Yep.
That's right.
Second, if there's a contradictory testimony, which is what we have in this Kavanaugh.
Because one of the witnesses already has said that this didn't happen.
Yep.
Right.
So
we have contradictory testimony, which means you take that matter before judges. Okay, that's what contradictory testimony means. And lastly, and that's what it says in Deuteronomy. And lastly, if the witness is found lying, then the witness gets the same punishment the accused was on trial for.
Right.
So that I think lays the biblical principles for how we handle these things.
Yeah. Part of the problem in all this, though, is you also have a standard problem going on here. So I think this is helpful because we're going to the biblical standard and we're saying, look, this is what the Bible requires. If you don't have two or three witnesses, you don't have a case.
that's right.
It doesn't even get the light of day.
Yeah.
If you have two or three witnesses, then you can actually, and there's contradictory claims, then you can actually have a court hearing.
Yep.
But what these people want is they suddenly want to pull a standard out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
I think recognizing that this is, I know you wanted to set aside the moment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bust back into the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And say,
I think it matters.
it matters.
Yep.
And so, but they the play here is clearly one of intimidation, fear-mongering, and an internet mob justice.
That's right. That's right.
That's what they want to do. They want people to be afraid of Kavanaugh, that he's not who he says he is. They want Republicans to be afraid of him.
Yeah.
And they ultimately want to try to get their base riled up. They're trying to stir up a mob.
That's right.
That the Senate will be afraid of, and then be afraid to confirm him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is not justice.
This is why Me Too is not justice.
This is not justice, because this should have been handled. If there was something here to be handled, it should be handled long time ago, not at the 11th hour.
Come on now.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, and this is where, if things like this happen to a woman, she needs to have the biblical courage to come out immediately, and say something.
So let's start.
Right? That's actually, you're disobeying the Bible if you don't come out and say something.
But let's start here first. Fathers, teach your daughters this.
Yeah.
Do not wait.
Right.
You are not. Daddy will handle this.
Right.
Yep.
We will handle this.
Right.
We
Amen.
can. What's
That's right.
been happening is that we've kind of been quiet and we haven't been teaching this to our children.
Right.
So now all of a sudden we've created a culture where like nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be any justice. Oh no, baby, there will be justice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to be quiet about this.
Right.
And so you don't have to shut your mouth. And here's another thing too. Like women who are quiet about this aren't helping other women.
Right.
Yeah.
20 years, 35 years ago, whenever this happened, she is allowed for how many other women, if this allegation is true, she's allowed for how many other women to go through this process with this guy?
Yeah.
Because you kept your mouth closed and you think you're being just now?
Right.
Lady, he just didn't start being a judge.
Right.
Right.
He's been a judge for a long time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe that you get the chance to come out here at this point in the game and say something and think that you're the victim. Let me tell you something. You created many of other victims. You and yourself are just as guilty for keeping your mouth closed all this time.
Right.
If it's true.
If it's
if
the allegations are, but here's the thing. There is so supposedly she's not going to testify on Monday because they want the FBI to launch an investigation.
She said she would. Now she said she's not. Now she wants the FBI to launch an investigation.
Now she wants the FBI.
Yep.
And my wife was talking about this. She said, listen, I've been in high school. I've seen things. I know how things go. Let me tell you something. When you get the opportunity to address someone who's wronged you on a stage like this and sit across from them and dog them out to get you are not missing that opportunity.
Uh-huh.
You want the chance after all these years
you want
to be
justice.
heard. If something like, so she's like, there's be no way you keep me away from being able to speak if I've been silenced or I've been pushed aside and I've had to hold this in. Of course I'm coming out to that thing on Monday. FBI can do what they want to do after I get done. Because they ain't going to change nothing, but I bet you this much is going to be a fire come Monday.
They can record my testimony right in front of the judge.
There will be fire on Monday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, biblical justice makes this go away. It handles it how it's supposed to be handled.
Yeah, right.
And it doesn't allow for something to fester and other people to be put off and be victims at the same time.
Right.
But
we have a bunch of cowards.
That's true. That's true.
And I think this happened. Pastor Wilson tweeted a day or so ago and said that, in effect, he said this back when Roy Moore was under the similar situation. He said if people don't vote for him or vote against him because of these allegations, they are setting themselves up. They're incentivizing this kind of trial by mob. Yeah. Trial by mob is not justice.
Yeah. Here's another thing too. I've been watching this whole, I usually don't engage these things this detailed, but it's been fun to watch, to be honest with you, this whole this whole Kavanau.
Same difference. No.
So, but here's one thing I've been watching. If you watch the narrative from beginning to end, it's always been like, we need to delay.
Right.
We need more time. This is being rushed. We need to delay. Halfway through, there's more emails out there. There's more writings. We don't have all his writings. We need to delay.
Right.
Another time, Hillary Clinton was on, what's his name show? Oh, yeah, Rachel Maddow. And she said, I did say what's his name on purpose. That wasn't an accident. She did say, you know what? We need to delay. Yeah. We need some time to figure this out.
We haven't paid our witnesses yet.
And let me tell you something. That's right.
Yeah.
Whenever they keep pushing, and whenever Hillary Clinton says, we need to delay, you better rush.
Yeah.
Because if Hillary Clinton say, we need to delay, that's been the narrative. All of a sudden now, they're like, hey.
And here's the deal. Here's the deal. They can confirm them and bring their charges.
Still bring the charges.
Bring the charges.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No. Hey, preach it, man. Tag in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously.
But confirm him and then bring the charges. And you know what? If he's guilty of some mass cover-up conspiracy, convict him, evict him.
That's right.
Defrock him, whatever it is that you do with Supreme Court justices.
And if that happened, I would be on the other side saying these people did not do you right. They elected a man that was this type of standard, that was this type of way, and they rushed and put him in, and look what we have to do. Shame on them. Now, that would be more in your court with the people if you were to do something like that.
But the difference is that one is following the rule of law, and one of them is following the dictates of the mob.
Yeah. Now,
and Christians must not go along with this. Even if you have some kind of sympathy for the accusation and think for some reason that there's some legitimacy to it. If you're a Christian, you have to say to yourself, but I refuse to go along with the mob.
Absolutely.
He ought to be confirmed because this is an 11th hour accusation. There's only one witness at this point, and it needs to be confirmed, and then let's bring it up. Let's do that.
So I think part of the...
Okay, there's two now?
There's two. The guy, but the person who was there says that
it didn't happen.
There's contradictory witnesses.
Just so we know, she's making an accusation against Kavanau about an event that she can't recall when or where it happened.
Exactly.
I just want to say, like, guys, that's not fair.
No.
I mean,
I think part of the rub here is that Christians, the Bible makes it hard to convict people. It really does. You got to have 2 or 3 witnesses.
Assumption of innocence.
Assumption of innocence, and which is healthy and good because the Bible also knows that the righteous are the biggest target, right?
Yeah.
Jesus was the righteous. He's the biggest target. So the Bible makes it hard to actually convict people, which means scripturally, it's possible that a murderer will walk away.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have 2 or 3 witnesses for someone who kills someone, then they could walk.
That's right.
But because the Bible, I think, cares far more about the innocent than it does about
and this is just a protection, and this is from God.
He
loves us, he cares for us, and he gives us these standards because and he knows the world we live in, and he knows the messiness of the world, that sometimes things will get by.
Right.
But this is for our good, and I would just bring it back to, again, Christians should be the kind of people who want the rule of law. The rule of law doesn't move. It doesn't shift.
Right.
These people that are demanding this kind of vigilante justice, it's not even really justice, but vigilantism, this mob rule, this will come back on their heads.
Right.
If anarchy prevails, if mob rule prevails, I mean, this is what happened in the French Revolution. You know, Robespierre led this, guillotine all the aristocrats, destroy all the semblance of order in the society, and then what happens in the end? Robespierre gets beheaded.
That's right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's
right.
Because
you will fall into the pit you dig. If this is how you think justice is done, it's going to come back down on your heads. This is bad for everybody, not even just for people who think that he's wrong.
I know a lot of people right now are thinking, like, they've really taken the side of Kavanaugh, and it's like, just so you know, the bias is with the person who is.
We're with God.
Yeah, we're with God.
We're on the side of God.
But don't forget, if you're innocent, if you're the person who's accused, the bias is with you.
Yeah. The bias is always with the accused.
Always with you until proven guilty.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So that's how you're supposed to be, right?
Thanks for joining us on CrossPolitic Midweek Fix. You can always join at CrossPolitic.com. Become a member.
You better do that. And until Sunday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic.